Welcome to Backstreet Gossip. News talk, current events, and political commentary. And now, here's your host of Backstreet Gossip, Ron Ludders.
I love it. I love it.
You know, you never get tired of that applause.
I know. I love a parade. And when you can't have a parade in this studio, the next best thing is to have an audience that's excited about it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
That's right. And we're looking forward to, if you like parades, the 4th of July is coming up.
And it's Sunday. And for those of you that aren't in the United States, that's one of our favorite days.
That is truly Independence Day.
Independence from Britain. And, you know, Ray, when I was going over to Britain, I always had a little joke. I said, to the British, since that was we won our independence from them, and I always say, do the British have a July 4th?
Do the British have a 4th of July?
Yes.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
That's not fair. Ask Neil.
Okay, do the British have a July 4th? He says no.
He says no.
But actually, if you look at the calendar, it's July 4th all around the world.
Well, what I usually respond is, well, what comes between the 3rd and the 5th of July?
It's the
you don't have a
4th
4th.
of July.
They just don't celebrate it. That's all throughout the United Kingdom, which is, we have to educate everybody here. United Kingdom is?
Well, it wasn't called the United Kingdom back then. It was called Great Britain.
Right. But what is the United Kingdom?
I don't know what was so great about it, but it was Great Britain.
It's great.
And what they did is they owned half the world, and what they didn't own, they brought back to England and stole it from the rest of the world. So, pardon me, my British friends, but you brought all kinds of things back. I know when I was there, I was so delighted. I didn't have to go to Asia. I didn't have to go to India. I just went to the museum and saw all the things they've stolen and brought back to England, including, Ray, one of the flags from the American Revolutionary War. And it was one of the American flags, one of our earlier flags. And people said, well, what are you doing here in England? And I said, I'm here to bring the flag back to the United States.
Now, was that a gift to them?
No, they captured it.
They actually did.
And I was ready to capture it and take it back.
All right.
I couldn't get back on British Airlines.
So for everybody out there who is at the edge of their seat, the United Kingdom is?
Great Britain.
It's England, Scotland,
Ireland,
Wales,
well, part of Ireland, not all of Ireland.
Northern Ireland.
Yes, Ireland itself is a separate country now, Northern Ireland.
You know,
and that's the United Kingdom now. But it used to be at one time what? The United States, Australia, New Zealand, India, and a few more. Some of the African countries, Hong Kong, and many African countries. I think Burma was also a British.
The sun never set on the British Empire.
It does now. It sets about 10 o'clock at night because they're so far north.
Hey, we want to welcome everybody to the show. And you know what? If you're seeing us on Facebook, that's Hub Radio Phoenix. Make sure you like us, and that will automatically subscribe you. And like us, because we're likable.
Yes, we are, Ray. I like you. Do you like me?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Oh, isn't that cute? Any rate, please do so. We'd like to thank you, those of you that are watching around the world. And this is really neat. We have people listen and watch from Africa. We have them in England. We have some people on the mainland in Europe, the Philippines, especially the Philippines.
Yeah.
And some people in Korea and especially one of our neighbors to the north. We got a call the other day from some of the Canadians. And, they're still locked up in Canada.
I know they are. I know.
I mean, you can't get around because they think COVID is, is some kind of a dread disease that is living in their country and nowhere else, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and you can also see us on Wimkin. We invite everybody over there. Wimkin, great. It stands for The World Must Know Wimkin. Also, Rumble, you can see us on there. Now, YouTube, if you've been viewing us on YouTube, you know that we have been censored for a little while. Do we have any updates on that?
Well, they're putting some of our shows back up now, except if we're very critical of the, except if we're critical of global climate change.
Okay, that's every show.
If we're critical of COVID.
That's every show.
If we're critical of the vaccine.
That's every show.
If we're critical of the recount. Or what there's certain words we can't use because if we do use them, we will be censored.
It's strange. It's strange that you said if we're critical about that because we're here to give information.
Yes.
Now, a lot of the information that we get is from YouTube, so we think that it's funny that if it's already on YouTube and we collect it and compile it into one cohesive type of show, that all of a sudden we get censored because we put it all together. And we even disclose, listen, don't believe us. This is what we've gathered together, and this is the conclusion that we've come to. You come to your own conclusion. We're just helping you along with the information that we
believe in freedom and freedom of speech, especially.
And you know what else? I was thinking about this on the way to the show tonight. I believe in everybody's individual freedom. Everybody's individual freedom. Now, when you collectively get together as a group, I don't know if the Constitution stood on giving collective group. I don't think it was meant to do that. Group freedoms? I don't think so. So when
individual.
It's all individual freedom. So if you want to live your life to the left, you have the freedom to do that. But when you collectively get everybody together and then want something special, that's not what the Constitution is about. Now, your lifestyle, the places that you go, the places that you live, the places that you work, if you collectively go together, such as a union, let's just say a union, for example, when you collectively, you shouldn't have special rights as that union because we live under a republic for individual rights and freedoms. If you choose to be part of that, terrific. I will protect your right and your individual liberty.
Whoa!
As an individual,
I feel like I'm sliding off the screen here.
That's all right.
Okay, we're stabilized.
Was that part of the earthquake?
Yeah, that's part of the earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's California, but it kind of quakes here. Listen, that's called that's called collectivism, Ray.
And you know what? That's not what our republic is about.
No.
Individual rights, individual freedoms, individual liberties, and individual accountability.
That's correct. Exactly. Now, listen, some of you that got my notices today, and we were really excited. We were going to have Chef Justin here tonight. And Chef Justin was moving over the weekend, and he was going to do something really interesting. Now, on the 4th of July, our forefathers were so proud of what they did, and so are we, as a matter of fact.
And as they should be.
And they told us to celebrate this, to always celebrate this with parades and fireworks and picnics. And Americans have done that ever since the founding of this country, 240-some.
Because they wanted
243 years.
To come together, e pluribus unum, out of many, one.
And to enjoy ourselves and to celebrate the sacrifices that many throughout history have made, Ray. And this is another attempt here to have a good time, picnics. And the chef was supposed to be here. I know he was going to make some things and probably ate them all.
I'll tell you something. He had a cooking emergency.
He did. But you know what he was going to bring? Ribs.
Really?
I could just see us eating sloppy ribs on the.
Well, if it's up to the Biden residency, they would be the meat substitute ribs.
Yeah, it would have been made of cauliflower and broccoli.
You know what? I just read this today. That who do you think is the largest private owner of farmland in the United States?
I happen to know the answer.
Do you?
I do.
Neil, do you know? Who is it?
No.
No, it is not China.
No. It's one individual.
One individual. And he said, you know what? I have this massive amount of wealth. If I can control the food supply,
I can control the people.
Yes.
And his name is Bill, buy him by the carton, Gates.
Now, not to be confused with the Maricopa County Board.
It seems like everybody with the name of Bill Gates has some kind of major difficulties in their lives.
Yeah, this is
the Maricopa County Supervisor,
yes.
Bill Gates. And this is Microsoft Bill Gates.
So he has over 100,000 acres of farmland
that he's bought up.
Prime farmland, and so the report that I read, and maybe you read the same one, is that he wants to diminish the size of the livestock industry, and he wants to take cells from these animals and manufacture an imitation style meat.
Yes.
Is that your understanding?
Yes, and the other thing that they wanted to do, because, well, first of all, we have cattle flatulence, which, according to some, it's caused global climate change. And so what they're doing, they're trying to develop a vaccine where they can inject into you that you will lose all desire for meat products, real meat. And kind of weird, if you ask me. And of course, I think everybody that knows anything about Bill Gates knows that this man is really weird. Anyway, getting back to Chef Justin, I think he was moving over the weekend, and he just has not been able to get here with all the food that he was going to bring in. So we were going to talk about the various picnics and the different things that we can have, because traditionally, most Americans will have hot dogs.
Yes.
Hamburgers.
Yes.
And what else?
Well, like chicken or
chicken, not duck,
like that.
not duck or anything, but chicken.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, you'll have
a lot of watermelon is in season. Grapes are in season now.
So forth. Lots of chips, especially here in the Southwest. You probably consume about 150,000 tons of taco chips and salsa. And which is good food. Don't let me kid yourself. If you haven't tried it, you need to try it. It's really good. But at any rate, the chef hasn't made it, and I don't think he's going to be here before our next segment.
But you know what? We'll have him on the show sometime. Maybe he'll talk about some of the other holidays that we have and some of the food. Maybe even Thanksgiving would be a great time for him to come by.
It would. He was talking about something. I tried it. It sounds terrible, but I had this chicken breast, and I cut it real thin, poke a lot of holes in it, and then marinate it in yogurt. I marinated it in lime yogurt. And, of course, the lime...
Now, you made this.
I made it myself.
Okay.
It doesn't look all that appetizing when they got the yogurt on it, and the yogurt kind of gets crusty. But it is really tasty. Once you try it, it's quite tasty.
And what is it called?
Lime yogurt chicken.
He's just making this up now. Hey, I'll tell you, what an exciting weekend. There was a lot of events happening
a lot of
here
things going
in Arizona.
on. And you participated in some of the great ones.
But let's find out where you sent our investigative reporters out. You sent out Doris and Laura Paxton.
And they went up to Prescott, pronounced Prescott, but when you're talking on your cell phone, okay, and it's, and you're using the auto type, say Prescott, because if you say Prescott, that's what it's going to print, Prescott, and nobody knows what Prescott is.
It's the sister to Triscuit.
Yeah, but forever and ever and ever, the people in Prescott, Arizona, have called Prescott Prescott. And I think you and I you've been here all your life, and I've been here almost 50 years, so to me, it's Prescott.
What's special about Prescott?
Nothing.
Actually, it was the capital of Arizona.
It was the original capital of Arizona. And some of it, there's some beautiful museums still there.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful town up in the mountains, Yavapai County. And it's just a very nice little town, nice restaurants. They're noted in the summer for having a lot of activities, including something that the 18th Amendment to the Constitution forbade one time, and that is alcohol. They have a place called Whiskey Row. Do you remember Whiskey Row?
I do. I've been up there.
And they have lots of little bars and taverns, and every one of them has a little musical group on the weekends, and it's just a really delightful place. My son used to play there all the time.
So what was the event that was happening up in Prescott?
Well, it was the Arizona Republican Assembly, the men and women of that activity. They went up there. We will have a little later, not tonight, but our next show we'll have a few reports from there. There were some really nice things. They had lots of little breakout sessions, a main session, and then our reporters got to interviewed several different people. One of them was Janet Jackson, who I wanted on the show tonight as
That's
well.
Jana, not Janet.
I'll tell you, the first time that she called me, and it was really interesting. She says, "Hello, Ron Ludders. You don't know me. I'm Janet Jackson." And I thought, Janet Jackson?
I got all your albums.
I got all your albums, and I love your brother's Moonwalk. Michael Jackson. At any rate, it wasn't. It's Jana, not Janet.
Now, Jana is a true patriot. She ran for office this last run, and she's been going around doing speaking engagements with regard to critical race theory, and I believe
she is a woman of color.
She is, yes,
and she is totally and absolutely against the critical race theory.
Yeah. Now, I believe it was Doris who had a chance to interview her.
Yes.
Up there, so we'll be able to play that for you as well. But a lot of exciting things. Now, there was a world premiere of a major motion picture that just came out with regard to the election of 2020. Now, Ron, you know all about this. This is called The Deep Rig.
Deep Rig.
And it was based on a book that was written by Patrick Byrne. Now, tell everybody.
Patrick Byrne was an interesting guy. I guess he started out virtually from nothing, and he was, I'm trying to remember the name of the company he started. It was Overstock.
Overstock.com, former CEO.
And this guy started this business, and he's a real conservative. Now, when I say conservative, I want everybody to know, I don't believe he's a Republican. He is a conservative.
Yes. Now, also, and he said this in the motion picture, he did not vote for Donald Trump the first time or the second time.
I did.
Well, yes, we know that. You're not supposed to tell people that. That's supposed to be personal. But
okay.
Here's my point. He saw something that we all saw, but he came to the realization, wait a second, things aren't making sense. There's anomalies that happened in this last election that have never before happened. He said, look, I didn't vote for the guy, but it doesn't seem right that the other guy won because it just doesn't make sense. So he wrote the book, The Deep Rig, and they made it into a major motion picture. They brought it here to Arizona for the premiere, and it was a paid event, and a lot of people were there, a lot of people from, that you would know, obviously. They've been on the show as well here. And it was so interesting to see the inner workings of these highly skilled professionals trying to break this down into how is it possible that all these things could have taken place. One thing that really came to mind for me is that if you took all of these counties that are in question right now, at about the same time of the counting, they either stopped counting at the same time, or when they resumed counting, that there was a massive spike in every single one of those counties. Now, I could see if there was maybe one, okay, two, it's a coincidence, three, but every single one, all at the same time, they all stopped at the same time for one reason or another.
And interestingly enough, the trigger was when they called the Arizona vote with only 20% of the vote in, and then everything shut down across the nation.
You know,
at the same time.
I don't know where you were. I was at an event, and they said, yes, it was 30 minutes after the polls closed, and they said, we're calling it for the resident-in-chief. And I said, that's impossible. And then there were people arguing, wait a second, maybe we called this too soon. No. And they were very firm. They were standing strong. No, this is the way it is. And I said, how is it possible? The polls just closed. He didn't have that much of a lead.
No. And I don't even think there was 20% of the vote in when they said that they called it. And it just fluctuated. And the days to come, very, very. And I think the resident-in-chief now is, I think he won by only about 10,000 votes out of about, four
Well, allegedly. Yeah. Anyway, if you get a chance, go to www.thedeeprig.com movie. And if you get a chance to see it, definitely see it. It is well worth it. The producer was there. Patrick Byrne was there. The director was there. Some of the other key people that are in the movie were there, and it was a wonderful event. Now, I did want to tell you that later on in the show, so stick around for this. Later on in the show, we're going to have a Dr. Nicholas Mayer. He's going to be on here talking about the American States Assembly. Now, this is going to be new to you. It's going to be new to me as well. But I met him at this event and some very interesting information. So that's just a little teaser for later on in the show.
And one of the interesting things about this, the deep rig, it sounds like something that was in the Gulf of Mexico and must have caught on fire or something.
Yeah, that couldn't be turned off for all those days.
Do you remember that?
Do I remember?
We had that rig fire there for a long time. And of course, all the environmentalists going crazy. We're spewing oil into the ocean.
Well, that could have been cleaned up a lot sooner, but there's something called the Jones Act. Are you familiar with this?
No.
The Jones Act came out in the 1800s. It was basically, there was a union of American flag ships. And if you were not flagged American, each ship that sails around the world has to have a country, a country that flags them, and they abide by those rules and laws. So if you are a foreign ship, you are not flagged in the United States, when you come into a U.S. port, you have to visit a foreign port before coming back. Otherwise, there's a large tariff that you have to pay. Hence why when I lived in Hawaii, we paid a premium for everything, not because of the shipping costs, but because of the tariff going from Los Angeles directly to Hawaii without visiting a foreign port. So all of these ships were there to pick up all of the oil, but they would not waive the Jones Act from 1800 because they were all foreign vessels. And only a U.S. ship can carry cargo, goods, and services from one U.S. port to another. That's why if you ever go on a cruise, you'll notice that they visit a foreign port before coming back to a U.S. port.
Really?
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
All they had to do was say, we waive this for this event. All of those ships would have gone out, pulled up all the oil, came back in. Didn't happen.
Wow.
You know what they call that, Ron?
Politics.
Politics.
Make work, cause money.
Politics. If you break down politics, it's poly meaning many, and ticks meaning blood-sucking leeches.
Ooh. Wow. Any rate,
Mark Merchant. I got to give him credit. Wonderful entertainer, Mark Merchant. That was his joke.
We are going to be talking later with this doctor and the people that we wanted to have here, and I'm going to tell a little bit story here about.
You always tell a story.
I know this is important. We were going to have John Roberts Brakey here, and he's with Audits USA. Now the audit here, a lot of people are claiming it's just about over, and they have this activity until the 30th of June, the building. And the problem here is this. They did the count of the ballots. There's other activities that must take place in a forensic audit, and one of those is the counting of the photo of the ballot images.
Right.
Now, when a ballot goes through a machine and is counted, it is also photographed by that machine.
Right.
And there's some discussion that the machines had algorithms in there, and it changed some of the details. So while the press will tell you that the audit is just about over, it's not true. Now, this is where Brakey is. There's some people that are wanting to not do the ballot image counting.
Well, Ron, listen, for my benefit and the benefit of all of our listeners, what is the definition of an audit? You're an auditor. What would you say is the definition?
Well, see, the audits are not designed to prove.
No, I mean just in general.
Well,
what is an audit?
It's to determine that all of the rules and regulations have been properly administered.
Okay,
during an audit.
So would you say I have A, which is what is submitted, and I have B, what needs to be tested against, right? This is the rules, the regulations. This is what was done.
Well,
right?
well, what we have in this particular case, we know how many people voted. Okay, so we should have, if there was 5 million people voted, we should have 5 million ballots. That's pretty.
Yeah, so here's my point. Here's my point. The audit is not the counting of ballots.
No.
You can count ballots till you're blue in the face.
And they can always turn out the same number of ballots. Yeah. It's what's on the ballot that you need.
Counting the ballots and looking at each ballot, that is a number. Now, that number has to be looked at against what was reported. Okay. Now, the reporting is the digital images of the ballot. So I'll give you, for instance, if I have a paper ballot here and I have a digital ballot here, I could theoretically, we're not accusing anybody of anything, but it's possible, I could take this ballot, run it through. It has one image. I could run the same ballot through again, another image, and I could run it through a third time, same image. The image would appear as 3 different ballots, yet there was only one used.
Original.
There is not a number on this ballot that says, well, that ballot is number 1. We see 3 number 1s on this side. It doesn't work that way. So we've now counted the paper ballots. We now need to look at the images and said, we have 2,100,000 paper ballots, physical ballots. There should be 2,100,000 digital images. That is the audit, the comparison between the two. Counting the ballots is not the audit. And I think President Fan said it best, as well as Ken Bennett, they said, okay, now that we've counted the ballots, the audit starts now. And they're trying to stop that.
They're trying to stop it. John Brakey, if any of you have followed us through the last several months, you know that John Brakey is involved deeply in that process, as are we. We support that.
Absolutely.
Now let me talk about something else here, and this is really important. There was a company called Digital Magic. Now, if you take one vote and you put that into a machine and you say, okay, this item is one vote, it should be counted as one vote for the way it was cast. However, there can be an algorithm in there that says when you reach this number, 7/10 of that number should go this way and 3/10 of it go this way. Okay, it still equals 1, but you split it up digitally, fractionally, in the counting process. You don't know that in a machine, so you don't want to use the same machines that counted it this way. So you want all of these images, and now you want totally clean equipment that has not been tampered with, that all parties, every political party that has something to gain or lose.
Well, every American has an interest.
And to say that this is correct. When you put something in it, it's not fractionally counted. It is counted as a whole number. Now, when they run those through, Ray, they should equal the hand count of the ballots themselves. Mm-hmm. If they don't, you know that the machines have been tinkering, so to speak, with the results and fractionalizing them. So you could have 7/10 of a vote go to one candidate and 3/10 of a vote go to another candidate, and that was not the voter's intent when he voted to split.
I think a lot of people that are listening maybe for the first time, and we thank you for joining us here on Hub Radio Phoenix. Make sure you like us. I think that a lot of people are saying, wait a second, no, that could never happen. They would never. Why would they fractionalize it? They're going to be honest. Everybody here in America is upfront, honest. They have no preference one way or another. They just want it to be true and factual, right?
Wrong. That is not quite the case. There are people that have a vested interest in the future. And I can take one guy, Al Gore. Al Gore has made a fortune on global climate change selling credits, carbon credits, which are nothing. It's made up of thin air. I will sell you carbon credits for so many dollars.
So you say he's a modern day P.T. Barnum?
Yes, I like that
Remember
analogy.
what P.T. Barnum said? There's a sucker born every minute. That's right.
And there were people that bought his carbon credits, which mean nothing. I mean, you know, and here's a guy that is so into this, Ray. Oh my gosh. And he's got like, what is a 15-bedroom house. He flies around on a private jet, and then he tells you that you've got to drive a little putt-putt car because your carbon footprint is too high.
Now, who's our climate czar right now? What is his name? Ran for president?
What's his name?
Got a very long face.
Ketchup guru.
Heinz.
Kerry. John
Kerry said.
And did you know that he fought in Vietnam?
He not only did he fight in Vietnam, but he protested.
He was there in Vietnam.
Yeah, he protested Vietnam. He was there saying that he didn't like it. Anyway, he told everybody, look, it's important that he, in that position, should be able to use the big jets and to use the fuel because the total outcome is he's going to be reducing it in the future. But for now, it's best if he has the opportunity to do it.
And we have had Peter Martin here. I shouldn't say that name because every time we do, we get zapped by YouTube.
Well, good night, folks.
Every time we do anything with Peter Martin. And we're going to have another program coming up perhaps next week.
We look forward to it.
But at any rate, the situation here is, yes, there are definitely people that have a vested interest in the outcome of these elections.
Okay, so we're not everybody is good. Not everybody is looking out for the best interest of you. And not everybody is looking out for the best interest of these United States of America.
That's true. You know, when I look back at this thing and I look at what has happened, we have a dual justice system in America, and we're still seeing this going on. We have people that are coming to the United States, and they're coming to our southern border, and they're being welcomed and so forth, and yet we still have this ruse by this administration, especially Kamala, and I want to talk about that for a few minutes, and you've seen some of that happen last week. First of all, these people come to this country, and Kamala says, well, we need to get to the root cause as to why they're coming here. I beg your pardon?
Well, when you open the door...
Well, you know, there was a song, I'm trying to remember if it was Bruce Springsteen, I think it was Neil Diamond, actually, Coming to America, Land of Opportunity.
We're coming to America, Neil Diamond.
We're coming to America, Land of Opportunity. And quite frankly, that's what it is. I think I would try to do the same thing if I'd want to do it legally if I could, but if I couldn't, I might even say, let me get in here any way I can.
Right, but we've talked about this a lot. If you... say that you want to go to Germany, right? And you learn the language, you learn the customs, you drive their cars, you work there. You will never be considered a German. You are a foreigner. You go to France, same thing. You go to Italy, same thing. You cannot become a Croatian, right? You can live there, you can talk the language, you can do whatever. Only in America can you come from any place in the world and you are accepted and you can say, I am an American. You can become the idea that our founding fathers had. Now, what's happened is that people come from another country saying, I can't handle it there. It's too much government, too much this, there's no opportunity. I'm going to come to America, yet I want to follow exactly what I did back home. I want to bring my home into America, hoping that that would work. If it didn't work in their country, you can't come here and have it work in this country because the point is, it didn't work there and it won't work here. No. You have to assimilate and to accept our customs and our rituals. And, you know, one thing that de Tocqueville talked about at the very beginning, he said, people were asking him, what makes America great? He said, the Americans truly care about each other. They look after each other. They're willing to participate in each other's lives for the betterment of the group. And so what happens is, if you come here thinking, me, mine, I need, it's not the foundation of
Nope.
what the United States was built upon.
Nope. Everybody brings something to the table in America. Now, here's the thing that bothers me with the concept. First of all, when Kamala goes to El Paso, which is totally wrong because 800 or 900 miles away is where the real problem is coming in. But she goes to El Paso where Donald Trump's wall has been built. So we don't have near the problem in El Paso. We have other places.
Full disclosure, she did not go to the border.
No.
She came within 9 miles
and stayed at the
of
airport.
The border. And stayed at the border, and I think the border patrol station 9 miles away. So to say that she actually went to the border,
No.
I think is disingenuous. And she went nowhere near where the wall was being built.
Exactly. Thank you for clarifying that. Now, talk about a problem, and she has said this over and over and over. She said it when she was down in South America. She said it about 4 or 5 times here. We must get to the root cause of this. You know, it's like having an invading army and saying, before we'll push the invading army back, we want to find out why they're here invading our country. No, you push them back, and then you...
I don't know where she was educated. I don't know her. I'm sure she's a very, very nice person. But to say we need to know the root cause, well, here's the root cause. We have something very special here, an opportunity, and they don't. And they want to come here for the opportunity. That's the root cause. We have something that they want, and we have to protect what we want. Otherwise, we will become like everybody else, and then where do we go? If America becomes something other than what it should be, where do we go, Ron?
Well, you know, there is no place else on earth like America. You know, here, at least I like to think it is. I remember there was a great speech that was given by an American general in the Civil War, a guy named Chamberlain. And he was talking about what we were fighting for in the Civil War, which was an interesting thing because here is the fallacy of the critical race theory. He says, you know, America is not about fighting for land. America is not fighting for royalty. It's not about fighting for women or treasure or loot. But what Americans do fight for is each other, because we fight for our freedom, and in fighting for our freedom, as Lincoln said, when we guarantee freedom for the slave, we guarantee freedom for the free.
That's right. That's right.
And
individual rights, individual freedoms, individual liberty.
And once you free the slaves, everybody is free. Everyone. And it can't happen again. And this is the other thing, Ray. You know, we went into this thing the other day where the Democrats, again, we have this day, Juneteenth, which is kind of I can understand why they say it's an important day. It was the day that the Southerners in Texas, the blacks in Texas slaves, found out about the Emancipation Proclamation. But the Emancipation Proclamation, Ray, isn't what freed the slaves.
No.
That was just a proclamation.
Right.
The 13th Amendment freed the slaves. And when you look at the vote of the 13th Amendment, it was the Republicans who voted to free the slaves. I don't think any Democrats did.
Votes?
No.
I don't think so.
And it was the Republicans that did it. Now, here's the really important thing. Now, I didn't know this gentleman. He was an uncle of mine, and he was killed in Vicksburg as a Union soldier, okay? And reparations that they talk about, nobody gave reparations to my family for anybody, a breadwinner, being killed in a war. But that's not here nor there. The important thing is, as in all wars and on Memorial Day, yes, we are thankful we are a free people. But by golly, we are a free people because people sacrificed
That's right.
everything. And when you give your life for the future of others, you traded your future for their future.
Right.
And I want you all to remember that. That's
so Ron,
important concept.
What you're saying is there was a price that was paid by blacks and by whites.
Yes.
Right? There was a price that was paid for that freedom. They paid with the blood spilled here. And how many tens of thousands of people died in the Civil
it
War?
was more than any wars on total of all wars. The numbers change because when you count the deaths on a war, you don't count the deaths of people that die at early age from wounds that they sustained during the war.
Right.
But when the war was over, they were still alive, but they might have died at age 30 after the war from an injury sustained. So the numbers have been creeping up when they start doing that. It's almost 750,000. That's 750,000 people. And at that time, it was like 6 or 7% of the American population died in that war.
So for those of you out there, and I know that this is a touchy subject for a lot, and again, this is our opinion. Ron sits here; he has his opinion because of his background, how he was raised. I have mine as well. But when you look at just the facts and knowing that there has been a price that was paid, it wasn't free for the freedom of the slaves. It wasn't free for the freedom of every single American here. There has been blood that has been shed by our ancestors, and whether you've just come in and become an American, you join that family. You are adopted in. You become part of the tree of liberty, and what has happened under that tree and the blood that's been spilled is part of what you as well commit to. And so to say that, reparations or payback or something is due to somebody, my family wasn't even close to to America when all of this took place. But yet I would be considered that I would owe somebody something for something that doesn't involve me. So how can you go back? I mean, I always think about, from a biblical standpoint, the Jews were in captivity in Egypt for over 400 years.
Yes.
All right? Now, I don't see Israel saying to Egypt, you owe us for the 400 years of slavery. I don't see that.
No.
But, you had Persia had slaves, and the Ottoman Empire had slaves, and everybody had. And in Africa today,
there is slaves.
Slavery. And the indentured servants that came over from the UK,
and
Irish.
While we cannot necessarily prove it, but it appears that China has slave labor as well.
Well, yeah, slave labor. I mean, if you ever keep somebody and have them do certain things against their will, that is the definition of slavery. So I'm excited about this. I know we're coming back to this, but I heard from Liz Harris. Now, I heard everybody out in the audience just cheering anytime I say the name. Liz Harris, I actually did an interview with her, but we weren't able to get it on this show, but hopefully we'll play it for the next show. But she had sent me some information here. And if you have a pencil and a paper, write this down. She is asking everybody to send out a note to your state senator. And this basically says election integrity is vital for all citizens and transcends party lines, which we all agree with. A bipartisan effort must take place to restore confidence to the American people that our elections are secure and honest and that our vote counts. I think we can all agree with that. The forensic audit report of the Maricopa County ballots is conflicting with the pressures to close the current legislative session. Now, sine die means that they're going to close the session for the rest of the year. Now, what we're trying to do is not go into sine die, and she has a way out. So to restore confidence in our election system, that we would be requesting for our state senator, and you should know who that is, that the Arizona Senate is to declare a concurrent special session happening at the same time, gavel into, which means put the gavel down into the special session, and declare a recess of that special session until the audit report is received by the Senate. So basically, you have the regular legislative session. This is a special session. Gavel into the special session and go on recess. Then sine die from the current session, which would close the current session, but still leave the special session open. We ask that the AZ Senate to issue an order to forensically audit the 2020 ballots for the remaining Arizona counties. So I think what Liz is saying, and all of her thousands of volunteers, which we thank so much, give thanks to, is that if there was some inconsistencies, some discrepancies, some anomalies happening here in Maricopa County, it's a good chance that they could have happened in the other counties. And you know what? Just to be safe, let's go ahead and audit those.
I think it's a good idea to do the whole state.
So include your name, your address, your telephone number, and get that to her or get that to your senator as quickly as possible if you can. And we're going to try to get Liz on the phone. I'm going to send her a text real quick right now. And if she has a chance to call in, she's actually at a speaking engagement now. So I sent that out to her.
She is one busy woman, and she is very popular in Arizona. She could probably run for governor and win.
She's I don't know if she wants to run for governor.
I wouldn't.
With everybody here, there's a lot running for governor, a lot running for Secretary of State, and I think we're going to have quite a bit more coming in. And you know what? We're going to keep you posted right here on Hub Radio Phoenix. See us on Rumble, see us on YouTube, see us on Facebook. Wimkin, yes. We thank
Digital
all of
Warriors.
You, Digital Warriors. We'd love to see you here. And all those candidates that are now jumping in, we're going to try to get them right here on the show so we can continue to break news as we have all year long.
And, you know, it's really interesting. We had Carrie Lake here the other night. And, you know, it's someone you should give consideration to. I know somebody did call me and say, you endorsed her and said to vote for her. I said, no, we said it's worthy of your support. That's what we said.
That's right.
There are other candidates. We have another one that came in today. I don't know if you knew that. Steve Gaynor announced today.
Is that right, for governor?
Steve Gaynor ran for the Secretary of State 3.5 years ago in 2018 and was edged out by Katie Hobbs. You know who Katie is? She's the one that said that all Trump supporters are neo-Nazis.
She said that?
She said that.
Just now?
And she's not just now, but she's running for governor, and she believes that Trump supporters are neo-Nazis. Now, would you really, really, really want to have a governor that believes that all Trump supporters are neo-Nazis? If you got to have a misunderstanding of what a Nazi
Ron,
was.
remember, when you are placed into that position, when you are given the honor to serve in that capacity, you need to embrace every single one of the residents here in Arizona. Every single Arizona deserves to be represented by somebody who embraces them and not to separate them.
You know, this
crazy idea. I don't know.
This past election is one that we can take a really, really hard look at and guarantee that this type of thing can never happen again. And yet, in the state of Georgia, they have come up with lots of new laws and so forth to strengthen voter ID and the fact that there can't be all of this nonsense that went on. And believe it or not, in Georgia, every county used Dominion equipment. Every county used Dominion equipment. And yet, the Justice Department, under this new leadership and the current resident in the White House, are going after them and saying, you can't do this because it will curtail and discourage people voting. Now, I had heard this. I can't tell you that I was there, but there was a lady that was at a black meeting with black Americans, and she was a candidate, I believe, for political office, and she asked everybody in the room, does anybody in this room not have access or does not have an identification? And nobody said anything. Everyone had a form of ID. And yet, if you listen to the Democrat Party, this is going to throw a huge burden on people to be able to get some form of ID. Ray, what don't you need an ID for in this country, other than just walking out your front door and picking up your newspaper?
Well, to buy cigarettes, you don't need an ID.
Now, if you're a minor, I suppose, if they think you're a minor.
No, I think everybody needs an ID for that.
No,
Everybody
but I mean,
does.
if they think you're 15 years old and you want to buy cigarettes, I think they can ask for your ID.
What about alcohol?
No.
How about a driver's license?
You got to prove you're of age. So you have to have an ID.
But a bank account, you can open up a bank account with cash, right?
No, you've got to show that you have an ID.
You got to show that. How about a private club? Say I want to get into a YMCA. Do I need to show ID?
Well, of course you do. They want to know that you're not going to abuse that club.
I know.
And especially, yes?
I know. If I went to a public school and I wanted to enroll my child, no ID.
Nope. You still have to show who you are, prove who you are, and that your child is, in fact...
Mr. Producer, Neil, where can you go that you don't need ID?
To the lake.
To the lake. Not if you want to rent a boat.
How about if you wanted to go get a chicken dinner at Kentucky Fried Chicken? Do you need an ID?
Do you need an ID?
I don't think so.
You
So
need
we found one.
cash?
But you do need cash. But if you wanted to use a credit card, many times
So I think
they'll
if,
ask for an ID if you use a credit card.
if you use a credit card, they will ask for ID. So
Or
what
a
you're
check.
saying is that you can vote for a chicken if you don't have ID. Is that right?
Is our guest here? Does anybody know?
He is not.
He's not here.
That's
Okay.
all right. That's all right. He's
No, that's
cooking,
fine.
He's
I-
cooking a Kentucky Fried Chicken right now.
Yeah,
Hey, you know what, Ron?
He's trying to get an ID.
I was so rude. I interrupted you. You were talking about Jana Jackson, who will be coming on the show. I think you scheduled her for upcoming here in the next couple weeks, talking about critical
Race theory.
You know what? Somebody asked me one time, Ray, what do you think about critical race theory? I said, just think of the name. It's critical. It's not just regular, but it's critical. And it's about race. And we're not talking about the Monte Carlo race. We're not talking about the Indianapolis. We're talking about race, meaning color of skin, but yet...
The Indianapolis
lady-
is not the Indianapolis 500
What did I say?
Memorial Day race?
Is it?
You said Monte Carlo, but I
Well,
was
there
thinking,
is a race in Monte Carlo, too.
Yeah, well, it's...
And there's one in Indianapolis.
No, there was a
There's
gentleman...
one here in Phoenix.
There was a gentleman that walked in here today, and he was a man of color, and he said, we have some Trump flags and that. He says, wow, it's really good to go to a place that, he says, I'm a Donald Trump supporter. This was a black man, and I asked him a little bit. He was from Maryland, not too far from Delaware, and you know who lives in Delaware, lived there.
The resident-in-chief?
The resident-in-chief.
Yes.
He said that there are very few states as back, like Delaware, he had indicated, was a very racist state. And he's been out here for 2 years, and I said, let me ask you this. You've been to Arizona. I said, we're a land of brown people, black people, white people, and most of us are from all around the country. We kind of, the indigenous population here are brown people, and so he said, no, he said, I've been here 2 years, and I've never felt any racial animosity of being a black person in Arizona. Well, that makes me feel good that as an Arizonan, we kind of have it together.
Yeah.
I mean, we deal with Native Americans, indigenous people, and we see all types of tribes. What do we have? 20-some Indian tribes
I
in
think
Arizona?
more. Yeah.
And then,
I don't know. I don't go to the casinos.
In the United States, the government has given Indians the ability here to have
Native Americans, yeah.
Native Americans to have casinos and that. So
on their land. It's their land. They can do whatever they want with it, right?
But I haven't noticed any animosity towards Indians. I haven't noticed, and of course we have almost a 30% Latino population, and I've never seen any problem.
We did a lot of events for Latinos for Trump.
Oh, Latinos for Trump was a big thing, and it's really interesting, Ray. We have a little holiday here, ladies and gentlemen, that we celebrate, and everybody thinks it's a Mexican holiday, and
Is it Cinco de Julio?
Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, Cinco de Mayo. Oh.
And we celebrate.
Neil, is there a Cinco de Julio?
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. We celebrate Taco Bell. No, but seriously, we celebrate this holiday. And when I had a house down in Mexico, and I would talk to people down there and say, "Hey, what are you going to be? What's going to be the big thing in town, Puerto Peñasco for Cinco de Mayo?" And I said, "What's Cinco de Mayo?" Cinco de Mayo is an American holiday which we celebrate.
It's not Mexican Independence Day.
Which we celebrate, which Americans celebrate, and it has nothing to do. Well, it does. That was a day of their independence in a battle that was won, but that's not their official Independence Day. And Americans celebrate it with much gusto. I mean, everybody goes out and eats tacos and dances and mariachis and everything else.
As much gusto as St. Patrick's Day.
And yet it's the real Latinos from south of the border have no idea what we're doing.
They think we're crazy gringos.
We are, but that's how much we love it's interesting. You said we're Americans, which we are, but there are certain things other countries bring here that are just really super, like you said, St. Patrick's Day. That's Irish. Yeah. Cinco de Mayo is Mexican. And there's all types of different things that we love to celebrate. We have an Asian American Day here.
And that's why when people talk about this critical race and then a theory, it's just a theory. It's a theory.
And it's wrong. It's totally wrong.
Everybody is up in arms about this, including here in Arizona. And Jana Jackson's going to come on here. She's going to talk a little bit about this and how we can, we always, we try to focus on the truth. Let's talk about the true history of the United States. Let's talk about the true meaning of the Constitution, why we signed the Declaration of Independence, what were the important things. Let's get back to not some hypothetical professor here in 2021 looking back and saying, well, I think this is what they meant. With my perspective and my expertise, let's look at the Founding Fathers, their documents, and let's follow history as it was recorded.
One of the things that the Democrat Party, I'll just be honest about it. I don't think we have to beat around the bush. They want to stop. Yeah, the D's. They want to stop our right to bear arms, and of course that's in our Second Amendment, and it says very plainly that this is a right that shall not be infringed.
That's right.
And now, what part of that,
what part of shall not be infringed?
Yeah, what does that mean? Now, we got the other scenario here, and I wanted to just talk just a minute about the gun situation. They keep talking about guns, and yet I had this number: 74 people were shot this weekend in Chicago. Chicago is a no-gun city.
It's some of the strongest gun laws in the country.
And yet, and I don't know if you've seen some of the videos lately of shootings. I mean, people have their guns just out, and you can see them firing. You can see the flash coming out the end of.
So, Ron, I have a question for you. How many guns kill people?
0, Ray. None. There has not been a person.
Wait, hold on.
I know what you mean.
How many guns kill people?
None.
0.
No gun has ever killed anybody.
Guns are an inanimate object. It's like saying I could hit somebody over the head with my phone. Does that mean my phone killed the guy? No, the person controlling the phone killed it. Guns don't kill people.
If you lay a gun on this table and nobody touches it, nobody will ever get killed.
No.
People kill people, ladies and gentlemen. And in Chicago, there were 74 people that were shot this weekend.
Well, let's thank God that we are here in Phoenix, beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, where the average temperature right now is about 115. Yeah. But
it's kind of warm, but it's a dry heat.
All right, we're going to be.
And if you don't believe it, Ray, those of you that are in other parts of the country, just turn on your oven and stick your head in it. You'll see what it's like.
That's Phoenix.
At any rate, this is Hub Radio, and we're going to be right back. So don't you go away. And we appreciate you as our viewers. Thank you.